As night falls over Christopher Street in New York's Greenwich Village, the Stonewall Inn begins to fill up. Music plays, people talk, glasses clink at the bar. For a few hours, the atmosphere feels unusually relaxed and free. The people who came here had very different lives. Some were office workers, artists, or students. Some lived in New York, while others came from different parts of the country. During the day, they had different jobs, different roles, and different lives. But once they entered the bar, many could leave some of those roles behind. Here, they shared one thing. They were gay, and at a time when gay people still faced widespread prejudice and pressure to hide who they were, the Stonewall was one of the few places where they could be more open.
LGBTQ plus people are strong and resilient. We're not gonna go away.
It's so important that we keep fighting for the right to be who we are, the right to love whoever we want to love.
Like all civil rights movements that have gone before, we're not going to give up.
Mocked, ignored, discriminated against, sometimes even pitied. That is how many people chose to see us. But here is the truth. We were never outsiders. We are your children, your friends, your classmates, your colleagues. We have been here all along. So maybe the real question is not where we came from. It is this. Why did it take you so long to see us? Where do I come from? And where am I going? For many gay people, these are not just philosophical questions. For a long time, gay people were ignored, excluded, and pushed to the edges of society. They were rarely talked about in public. But in everyday life, many still faced mockery, discrimination, and bullying. And when a society refuses to talk about homosexuality, or treats it as something shameful or taboo, people can grow up without the words they need to understand themselves. They may already feel different from others, but not know what that difference means. They may develop feelings for someone of the same sex, but still not know whether they are gay. They may even keep asking themselves, is this normal? Should I hide it? So understanding who they are can become a long and lonely process. Some struggle with relationships. Some spend years hiding or suppressing their feelings. And some face serious emotional and mental health problems because of loneliness, shame, and social pressure. For them, perhaps the hardest question was never simply, who am I? It was, why did no one ever tell me that someone like me could exist?
When I was in middle school, there was this really handsome guy in my class. I just loved being around him. We would go to school together, eat together, just spend a lot of time together. Sometimes I would try to hold his hand. And every time I did, my heart would start racing. It was exciting, but at the time, I didn't really understand why.
For many gay people, this realization comes slowly. As they grow up, they begin to notice that they are different from those around them. While their friends start developing feelings for the opposite sex, they find themselves drawn to people of the same sex.
When I was in middle school and high school, a lot of people around me started dating. The boys would talk about girls all the time, but I just wasn't interested. Still, I wanted to be like everyone else. I wanted to fit in. So I thought maybe I should try. I started spending more time with girls, and I even tried dating them.
But in real life, some gay men still try to date women because of family or social pressure. But without real attraction, these relationships can be difficult. Some become distant. Others feel trapped, exhausted, or simply more and more unhappy.
When I was dating a girl, I felt unhappy and uncomfortable almost every day. Whenever we were together, time seemed to pass so slowly. It was painful, and I kept wanting to get away from the relationship. Later, I realized it wasn't healthy for either of us.
For some gay men, physical contact with women does not feel exciting. It can make them feel nervous, uncomfortable, or even distressed. Hui says that when he became more intimate with his girlfriend, these feelings got stronger.
Whenever my girlfriend tried to touch me, I would feel this really strong jolt, almost like I'd been shocked. But it wasn't excitement at all. It was uncomfortable. Sometimes it was even painful. All I could think about was getting away.
Hui was with his girlfriend for 5 years, but during that entire time, they only had sex 2 or 3 times. Most of the time, they simply held hands. There was very little physical intimacy beyond that. Who am I? Why do I feel this way? How do I know if I'm gay? For many gay people, questions like these often come at a time when they are still trying to understand who they are. When there is no one to ask and no one to explain what they are feeling, many turn to the internet. They search for answers to one basic question: am I gay?
I remember going online and searching things like, am I gay? Or how do I know if I'm gay? Sometimes I would just type in something like, men love men. At first, seeing two men together made me a little scared, but I kept looking, and after a while, I started to feel something different. I felt excited. I even felt happy, because suddenly I realized I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only guy who liked other guys. There were other people like me.
In 2001, the Netherlands became the first country to legalize same-sex marriage. In the years that followed, more countries began to do the same. But changing the law is not the same as changing society. Even today, many gay people still face discrimination at work, at home, and in their everyday lives.
Even now, even though I've accepted that I'm gay, I still don't feel safe telling people at work. So at work, I still pretend to be straight. I worry that if people find out, I could be bullied, treated differently, or become the subject of gossip.
When people keep saying that being gay is feminine, sick, or abnormal, many gay people learn to hide themselves instead of accepting who they are. Some try to ignore their feelings. Some refuse to accept that they are gay. And some even start to hate themselves.
Back then, I kept thinking there must be something wrong with me. I kept asking myself, how could I be gay? Why did it have to be me? I even tried to prove that I wasn't gay. But deep down, I was confused. I still imagined being with boys. Sometimes I even dreamed about boys. And the more I tried to stop those feelings, the more I realized I couldn't.
And I kept telling myself, I'm probably not gay. Maybe I just hadn't met the right girl yet. I believed that one day I would become straight. I would get married, have kids, and have a happy family. I kept thinking that if I just waited, everything would eventually become normal.
Without proper guidance and without someone they can talk to, many gay people spend years struggling to understand who they are. They may feel confused, lonely, and deeply hurt. Some experience anxiety or depression. And for some, these feelings begin to affect their daily life in serious ways. Why did it have to be me? Hui asked himself this question again and again. Years of self-doubt and pain slowly pushed him into a very dark place. At one point, he even began to have thoughts of ending his life.
Back then, I was still really struggling with my identity. It was painful. But later, my ex-boyfriend stayed with me. He cared about me, supported me, and helped me get through the hardest time. We went through it together. And over time, I slowly learned to accept myself. That was how I finally began to move past the pain.
Are we born this way? Could things have been different from the very beginning? For some gay people, the answer begins to appear when they look back at their own lives. Sometimes, even their childhood memories start to make sense. John says that when he looked back at his past, he slowly began to understand himself.
When I was in middle school, I was very close with the boy who sat next to me. We went to school together every day, and we went home together after school. Sometimes he would also take me to his house to hang out. At first, I thought we were just really good friends. I didn't think much about it. But sometimes, when he put his arm around my shoulder, I felt really happy. There were even a few times when I suddenly wanted to kiss him. Later, he transferred to another school. I felt sad for a long time. I thought about him every day, and I kept thinking, I wish I could still be with him. But at that time, I didn't know what those feelings meant. I didn't know that maybe it was already more than friendship. Only when I grew up and looked back did I slowly realize, maybe even back then I was already able to fall for boys.
Now that John is an adult, he has finally accepted that he is gay. Looking back, he is beginning to understand what those feelings really meant. Maybe sexual orientation comes from biology. Maybe life experience also plays a role. But either way, gay people deserve respect, protection, and fair treatment. Mark had always thought of himself as straight. He worked out often and paid a lot of attention to fitness and muscular bodies. Looking back, he says that this may have made him notice men's bodies for the first time in a new way, and that was when he began to question his own sexuality.
For a long time, I thought I was straight. I liked women, or at least that was how I understood myself. When I was in school, and later after I started working, I dated women. I didn't feel uncomfortable with intimacy. It felt natural. It felt good. So, at that time, I never had any reason to question my sexuality.
But the real turning point came by accident. One day, while browsing online, Mark saw a nude photo of a man. What surprised him was that he didn't feel uncomfortable. He felt excited, and he liked the feeling. For the first time, he began to wonder whether he might also be attracted to men.
Later, I noticed that when I looked at photos of women, I didn't really feel much. But when it came to men's bodies, I kept wanting to look. That was when I began to realize that my attraction to men was probably stronger than I had imagined.
But when Mark first saw two men being intimate, he felt something much stronger. He felt excited. He felt attracted. And for the first time, words like gay and men-loving men became clear in his mind. He began to realize that maybe he was not only attracted to women after all.
At that time, I kept telling myself, I'm straight, there's no way I like men. Because growing up, I had always believed that being gay was wrong. I even believed it was a sin. So even when I started feeling attracted to men, I still refused to admit it.
But when Mark looked back at his past, he began to realize something. His attraction to men may not have come out of nowhere. The feelings he once ignored, the small moments he never thought much about, had actually been there all along. But later, when Mark fell in love with his current boyfriend, the straight identity he had held on to for years began to fall apart. He realized that his feelings for men were not just curiosity, and as the relationship became more serious, he also noticed that his interest in women was slowly disappearing.
For me, it was a slow process of understanding myself. Maybe I was always capable of liking men. I just kept pushing those feelings down and refusing to face them. It was only later that I started to really explore who I was. And slowly, I began to accept that maybe this was who I truly am.
From the first confusion to the moment you slowly begin to accept yourself, only you know how much pain and struggle you have been through. But when you finally stop running away and stop denying who you are, things can begin to change. Accepting yourself does not mean every problem disappears, but it does mean you no longer have to pretend to be someone else. You no longer have to live as the person other people expect you to be. You can start to be yourself again. And maybe, for the first time, you can begin to see a world that feels more real, more open, and more free.